Hello. So today I wanted to talk about three of the books I've read this year so far that I rated 5 stars. This has honestly been a really solid reading year for me so far, so I'm really happy about that. And if I sound like I am out of breath at times, it's because I am. Unfortunately, I'm just now getting over being sick. But yeah, let's get into it. These Lifeless Things by Purmi Mohammed takes place in a world where all but like 0.5% of the entire Earth's population has been wiped out by these shape-shifting, reality-bending cosmic entities. And we read from two different POVs. One is a series of diary entries of a woman that lived through the near extinction event. And another is of a woman like 100 years in the future sees a researcher trying to figure out exactly what happened all those years ago. And just disclaimer, I might get into some like minor spoilers. So if you wanted to go into these books like completely blind, just be aware. But one interesting thing about this book is that like when humanity was almost wiped out, they were reverted back to the Stone Ages. So like all of the infrastructure, all of their resources, technology, everything was basically taken away from them and they had to start from scratch. So 100 years later, the main POV that we read from, she is a researcher after things that had kind of been built back up. And she's just trying to pick up the pieces because there weren't really any firsthand accounts of exactly what happened. And even people that lived through it, they not only don't really know, they also don't really care. So that's why when we find this diary entry, it's such a really important thing. Yeah, Purmi Mohammed is definitely one of my new favorite authors. She wrote The Butcher of the Forest, which is one of my favorite books from last year. It was a really solid, like, Pan's Labyrinth-like fantasy horror. And this one is only like 100 pages long, and it is definitely more like literary driven. It's not like an explosive, actiony, like sci-fi horror adventure. But it is so upsetting and bleak and honestly disturbing at times. It's not like completely hopeless. But yeah, some pretty shocking and like really crazy things happen mostly when you read from the diary entries, this woman's like firsthand account of like some of the crazy things that happened. It is a lot. Purmi Mohammed's writing is really vivid and like visual, almost like cinematic. She can write like a single sentence and it'll have me like putting down my Kindle and staring at the wall, just thinking about exactly what I just read. So great. Next is The Trees by Percival Everett. Now, the only thing I really knew about this author was that they had also written James, which is one of the most popular books of last year. I know it's a lot of people's favorites. And the only reason I haven't checked that one out yet is because I know it's a Huckleberry Finn retelling, and I have not read that. Just in general, I struggle with like classic books or older books or books that you were kind of like made to read in school. I just really have a hard time connecting with them. But this one was like rage-inducing and very depressing and ultra violent, like a lot of very intense graphic violence. And it's kind of all about the racism that is still present in the United States to this day, like the tension that is present mostly in the South, but again, all over. This one's about a series of really brutal, almost like ritualistic murders where white men are found completely mutilated and brutalized. They're really grisly crime scenes. And also at the scene of the crimes is the body of a dead black man that resembles Emmett Till. Now, if you don't know, Emmett Till was a boy in the 1950s that was brutally murdered and lynched because he was falsely accused of accosting a white woman in public. She later came out that it was a completely false allegation, and the men that killed Emmett completely got away scot-free. They faced absolutely no repercussions for the crime. And I thought this one was really like masterfully written. It did not surprise me at all to learn that this was nominated for the Booker Prize. And one really powerful kind of like literary device I think the author used was repetition. So there's this one part, again, minor spoilers, but he's a college professor from Chicago, and he comes down to Mississippi to visit the one character. She's kind of like the local witch. She's like 105 years old or something like that, and she knows everything. And in her library, she has records of every single person in the United States since she was born that was lynched. And there's this one scene where that character is kind of like very feverishly writing down every single person's name, and you read every single one of their names, and sometimes they're like unidentified black man or unidentified man. And it was just very, very emotional and deeply moving, and kind of like jarringly, there's also moments that were really funny. Like it's filled with a lot of like dark humor, like flippant humor, like almost slapstick humor. And it's really strange. You'll read from the POV of someone that is like extremely racist, just like one of the worst people ever with no redeemable qualities. And then, either while you're reading from that POV, there'll be something that will just make you laugh. And it's also extremely violent. And there was just a lot of things that the author was doing, and I think he balanced all of those themes very, very well. It is probably one of the most unique books that I've read in a very long time. and I'm definitely checking out more from this author. I'm just like thinking about certain scenes, I'm just like, wow. And most recently, I read Good Me, Bad Me by Ali Land, and this one is about a teenage girl that is dealing with the fact that she just turned in her mom for the murder of like 9 toddlers, ages from like 3 to 6. And the story is about her being placed into foster care and kind of leading up to her mom's trial. This one was incredibly depressing and disturbing and shocking, just in general, a really uncomfortable read, because like kind of over the course of the story, you know, the main character is placed into foster care and she's learning to adapt to this family that has their own problems. And you kind of, you know, learn a little bit more of exactly what happened when she was living with her mom, when her mom was murdering these children. And it really reminded me of like The First Day of Spring by Nancy Tucker. You know, it's not like a psychological thriller, like a really thrilling, suspenseful read. It's more just like a deep dive into the psyche of an extremely damaged individual that went through some really intense trauma, and is still going through it. And it's written in almost like an intimate way that really made me feel uncomfortable, and it's just very anxiety inducing and also frustrating because one of the main plot points is the main character is experiencing some really intense bullying. So it's just like she just cannot catch a break. And pretty much the entire read, I was expecting just something absolutely terrible to happen. This was a really depressing, difficult read. But yeah, all 3 of these books were incredibly dark in their own way, so definitely proceed with caution if you wanted to check any of them out. If you've read any of these, definitely let me know what you think, and let me know like what books you have rated 5 stars this year so far, because I am always on the hunt for more good book recommendations. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.